Welcome. You're watching the Thrift Store Rundown, where we bring Hollywood home on a budget. Young or old, it's never too late to relive a happy childhood, or to have a helping hand in creating one for somebody else. Whether they or you consider your childhood heroes to be the pint-sized saviors of Townsville, the Powerpuff Girls, laboratory scientist extraordinaire, Dexter, the platonically speaking, hot mess of macho masculinity, Johnny Bravo, or the cowardly dog with the heart of gold, Courage. Do you see where I'm going with this? Purchased for 50% off for $1.99, we have 400 pages of Cartoon Network cartoons coloring fun. Suggested retail price, $5.99. Final retail price, $4.97. And yet I got it for less than $1. So, that's Unique Thrift Store for you. We have here 7 shows. 8 if you separate Cow and Chicken from I Am Weasel, which were in the same half hour from the same creator, David Weiss. But aside those 2, or that one, and the others I mentioned on the cover, we also have Mike, Lou, and Og, and Ed and Eddie, which kicks off this coloring book from the first episode with the series. With the first episode from the series, I should say. The Ed Touchables. So here we have Ed and Eddie in the Ed Touchables. And for what it's worth, it is a very brief rehashing of that particular episode. You know, the one where Sarah loses her dolly, Double D loses his magnifying glass, and other Peach Creek cul-de-sac kids lose their items, and the Ed set up an investigation and a trap. Johnny ends up in that trap, and they interrogate him to the point where he confesses that he was the one that was the serial toucher that touched everyone's stuff. The Eds, with their money from the cul-de-sac kids, end up going to the candy store to collect their due. Jawbreakers. And at the end of the episode, Johnny, trapped inside the rolling tire, actually rolls down the hill all the way to downtown in the cul-de-sac, knocking the Jawbreakers out of the Ed's mouths, and it ends with the Ed's chasing after their Jawbreakers, which were somewhat ill-gotten. I remember that episode all too well. And in these few pages, you can actually color the Eds just like they're colored in the show, or you can color them your own style. And it's not just the Ed Touchables in here from Ed and Eddie that you get to color. You get to color the Eds themselves individually and as a group. Ed, Double D, and Eddie. Even the cul-de-sac kids. Wolf, Johnny and Blake, Kevin, Sarah and Jimmy, and of course, Naz. And of course, those menacing, notorious Kanker sisters, Marie, May, and Lee. And yeah, I still remember them all because Ed and Eddie is one of my all-time favorite cartoons. That's one of 2 favorite stories I have in here. The other favorite is from Dexter's Laboratory. Dexter's rival. The introduction of Man-Doc. And of course, the introduction of Man-Doc's crush on Dexter's sister, the annoying yet adorable Dee Dee. Man-Doc's attempts to seduce Dee Dee in the laboratory, which lead to catastrophic failure, courtesy of Dexter. This is not just a coloring book, this is also a Connect the Dots book, a word search book. There are a lot of fun challenges and games towards the end of this book. Mainly towards the end of this book, where you'll find a good majority of them, but they're sprinkled all around the book. The Powerpuff Girls actually have the most amount of stories in here. I estimate 3 to 4 stories. But we also got stories from, of course, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, Mike, Lou, and Og, Johnny Bravo, Courage the Cowardly Dog. The next time that somebody would think about publishing a coloring book like this, I would like to see other cartoons be featured in here. Like, for example, Codenamed Kids Next Door, one of the big pick winners during the Cartoon Fridays era, as voted on by viewers. I'd also like to see, beyond the Cartoons era, other Cartoon Network originals. A couple of my favorites being Camp Lazlo, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, 2 excellent Emmy award-winning animation productions right there. Maybe Shadow would be a good option. My gym partner's a monkey. Oh, the list goes on and on. Perhaps you like to fill in your favorite cartoons and Cartoon Network originals before 2010. And really, ideally, before the end of the Cartoon Network Fridays era. Before the end of the Tommy and Tara era. So, those cartoons from Cartoon Network, why don't you fill me in on your favorites in the comments section. Because I grew up in the Cartoon Network Fridays era, in the CN City era with Tommy and Tara, not in the Cartoons era, Cartoon Fridays, which had characters from each of the shows as hosts for every week, which is also a pretty great block. But I'm more familiar with the Cartoon Network Fridays era. Anyway, another thing, next time around, there should be an even number of stories per each show. We have 7 shows in here, so ideally that would be 2 stories per show. That would be 14 stories. 8 if you count Cow Chicken and I Am Weasel, for a total of 16 stories in that aspect. But the amount of fun you're going to get out of this coloring book either way just really makes it worth every penny, even if you find it for nearly $6. And here's a cute story to share with you. There are actually 2 copies of this very coloring book. I bought one for myself, and I spotted a little girl who bought the same coloring book. It so was a miracle that we found 2 copies of the book, one for myself and one for the little girl. I actually chatted with her and her parents, and we talked about their favorite cartoons and her favorite characters. She liked the Powerpuff Girls the most. I myself loved Ed and Eddie, and I still do. I also like the Powerpuff Girls every once in a while. Dexter's Lab's pretty good too. There is also a Hanna-Barbera coloring book very similar to this, featuring characters from famous Hanna-Barbera productions. You know, Flintstones, Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, those cartoons. I wanted this a bit more, and yet I pointed the little girl and her family toward the direction of the coloring books and the children's books. That's where that Hanna-Barbera coloring book was. They were very happy to see it, but they didn't buy it. I ended up buying that book for the same price and the same discount for that little girl, who was all too grateful to have another coloring book of this caliber that she could call her own. Hey, part of the joy of being a Hollywood bargain hunter is knowing how and when to share the wealth, especially with a child. It does a heart pretty good to make a kid smile and to make a child stay. This is from Dalmatian Press, licensed by Warner Brothers Worldwide Publishing. It's packed with your favorite cartoon stars, and it gets 4.5 out of 5 claps for an uneven amount of stories per show. Aside from that, tune up the Crayon Man, for this is one coloring book that really colorfully sings. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the Thrift side!